Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories. And one of the big developments that happened today was, of course, the build-up to the winter session of Parliament. With just a day to go, the opposition is upping the ante, saying a debate on intolerance would also come in. All that and more over the next half hour. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Modi invites investors in Singapore to take part in the divestment of Navaratna PSUs, seeks help in building at least 20 smart cities. BJP loses high-stakes by-election in Madhya Pradesh's Ratlam Jhabua Lok Sabha, retains Dewas seat, scores a surprise win in Mizoram. Actor Amir Khans sparks a controversy with his remarks on intolerance. BJP leaders, Bollywood celebrities slam comments. And Turkey shoots down a Russian fighter jet, says it won't pilot the 10 times for violating airspace. Moscow refutes claims. The top story this evening, the gift of a map, charcha over chai and vada, and an address to the CEOs of Singapore inviting them to invest in India. This is how day two of Prime Minister Modi's Singapore visit panned out. The two sides signed 10 agreements on a number of issues, including political, defence and security cooperation.
Taking bilateral ties a step further, India and Singapore signed 10 documents on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Singaporean counterpart Lee Hsien Loong signed a joint declaration to deepen and broaden the engagement in existing areas of cooperation and catalyse new ones, including political, defence and security cooperation and economic, cultural and people-to-people contact. The two countries also agreed to enhance bilateral cooperation in maritime security. They have agreed to operationalize the technical agreement on sharing white shipping information between the two navies. Modi and Lee also launched the stamps of Rashtrapati Bhavan and Singapore's Istana to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties. Prime Minister Modi later addressed the Indian-Singapore Economic Convention and interacted with CEOs of several companies. Promising reforms to make India more attractive for foreign investments, the Prime Minister also promised to carefully hold the investors' hands and guide them.
The last 18 months, reforms are happening in a big way. They are now reaching to the last mile. Reform is to transform the systems so that they perform. Simply, but they aim at enabling the people to realize their potential and dreams.
The Prime Minister also told the CEOs that the latest round of FDI reforms in India will make the country the most open economy in the world.
We are also conscious of the last mile operational issue in such policies. In that spirit, we are fine-tuning the procedures also. Early this month, we have taken a very dynamic step to further open up the economy for FDI.
Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tribute to freedom fighters at the Indian National Army Memorial Marker. This was the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the memorial marker. It is just one of the 11 markers erected in 1995 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Ministers held talks over the government strategy ahead of the winter session of Parliament that starts from Thursday. 38 bills, including key reform bills like the GST, are awaiting parliamentary approval. The centre expressed hope that the Congress will pass them. Ministers for Home, Rajnath Singh, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu met to give final touches to their strategy. The government has also called an all-party meeting on Wednesday at 11 a.m. BJP Parliamentary Party Executive and an NDA constituents will meet later at the Prime Minister's house. This will be followed by an all-party meeting called by the Speaker. With just one day to go for the winter session of Parliament, the opposition is busy fine-tuning its strategy too. The main opposition party, the Congress, is all set to take on the government on several issues, including the intolerance debate. Congress also seems to be in no mood to give in on the GST bill, a key reform bill that the government is keen on getting cleared in this session. The opposition seems to be on a firmer footing after the recent victory in Bihar. The party also set to raise issues related to farmers and the rising prices of essential commodities. Let's go across to our correspondent Vishal Daya, who will be tracking all those developments happening in Parliament for us. And Vishal, the stage is really set for a very stormy winter session of Parliament, with the opposition completely trying to put a roadblock as far as the government's reform initiatives are concerned. But the government is doing its little bit to reach out. A lot of meetings have been called for, the all-party meeting tomorrow as well. So does it look like any signs of relenting from either side?
Well, not as of now, Ishan. And if you look at the opposition, specifically the main opposition party, Congress, then they seem to have found their feet on the firm ground after that victory in the Bihar Assembly elections. Specifically, what we are being told by the sources within the main opposition party is that they will be leaving no stone unturned to try and corner the government. Now, the issues will most probably begin with the debate on the intolerance. And in the recent past, in the last week or 10 days, we've seen these attacks rising from the Congress and several other opposition parties on the government on the issue of intolerance. And this is something which is likely to take the center stage, if not for the entire session, then at least for the first half of the session. Then there are several other issues as well. For example, the rising prices of essential commodities, and then there are issues related to the to the farmers, be it the sugarcane farmers, or drought conditions in certain areas, or flood conditions in certain areas. So those are the issues which we are expecting that the Congress leaders will be raising in both houses of Parliament. There are several notices which have already been given by the Congress, and as far as the government side is concerned, Ishan, then they have made those efforts. Tomorrow there are.
Right, Vishal, I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt you over there for just a minute, because Prime Minister Modi is addressing the Indian diaspora in Singapore as he wraps up his visit to that country. So let's listen in.
ये विदेश से आए थे, कौन है क्या है जानते नहीं थे, क्यों आए थे पता नहीं था, लेकिन उन्होंने समंदर में से मैसेज भेजा तो राजा ने एक दूध का ग्लास भरा हुआ उनको भेज दिया, और उसमें मैसेज ये था कि जैसे ये ग्लास में दूध पूरी तरह भरा हुआ है और बिल्कुल जगह नहीं है, मैं आपको यहां कैसे समाऊंगा, ये सिंबॉलिक मैसेज था। तो पारसियों ने क्या किया, उस दूध में चीनी मिला दी, शक्कर मिला दी, और वो दूध का कटोरा वापस भेजा, और उन्होंने राजा को संदेश दिया कि हम विदेश की धरती से आए हैं, संकटों के मारे आए हैं, लेकिन जैसे इस भरे हुए दूध से भरे ग्लास में जगह न होने के बावजूद भी चीनी जैसे उसमें मिल गई, हम भी मिल जाएंगे और हम और मिठास भर देंगे। हिंदुस्तानी भी जहां गया उसने वहां के जीवन के साथ अपने आचरण के द्वारा, अपने व्यवहार के द्वारा उस समाज में वैसे घुल मिल गया कि हर किसी को अपना लगने लगा। दुनिया के कई देशों से पता चलता है कि अगर अड़ोस पड़ोस में कोई इंडियन आता है तो खुशी महसूस करते हैं, उनको लगता है अच्छा भाई कोई इंडियन हमारे पड़ोस में है, और वे अपने बच्चों को प्रेरित करते हैं कि जरा तुम इंडियन बच्चों से दोस्ती करो। ये इस आपके इन व्यवहार के कारण और सदियों से हमारे देशवासी जहां गए वहां वे एक अपनापन की महक लेकर के गए, अपने बनकर के रहे, हर किसी को गले लगा करके रहे, और ये सदियों से परंपरा चली आ रही है। और इसी के कारण भारत जब सोने की चिड़िया था, तब भी किसी को भी आंख में खटकता नहीं था, और हमारे बुरे दिन आए तब भी किसी ने हमें हड़धूत नहीं किया था, अपमानित नहीं किया था, क्योंकि सदियों से हमारे लोगों ने ये प्यार, ये अपनापन, इसी का मूल मंत्र लेकर के, और हमने सिर्फ शास्त्रों में पढ़ा था ऐसा नहीं, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, ये वेद काल से हमारे यहां उद्घोष चला रहा है। लेकिन भारतीयों ने सच्चे अर्थ में वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, होल वर्ल्ड इज वन फैमिली, इस मंत्र को जी करके दिखाया है। और उसी के कारण आज विश्व में भारतीयों के प्रति, भारत के प्रति कहीं कोई आशंका का माहौल नहीं होता है, अपनेपन की सुवास होती है। और इसलिए मैं विश्व भर में फैले हुए मेरे सभी भारतीय भाइयों बहनों का आदरपूर्वक अभिनंदन करता हूं।
Prime Minister Modi addressing the Indian diaspora there in Singapore as he wraps up his visit over there. Well, moving on now to domestic political news. By-election results for Ratlam, Warangal, Manipur and Mizoram seats were announced today. The ruling Telangana Rashtra Samiti retained the Warangal Lok Sabha seat. Its candidate, Pasunpuri Dayakar, won by a massive margin of nearly 4.6 lakh votes. The ruling BJP in the Madhya Pradesh lost the Ratlam Jhabua Lok Sabha seat. Kantilal Bhuria of the Congress beat BJP candidate Nirmala Bhuria. The party, however, retained at the Devas Assembly seat. It also opened its account in the Manipur Assembly by defeating the ruling Congress in Thangmeiband and Tongju. Former Mizoram Health Minister Lal Thanzara of the Congress won the Aizawl North 3 seat with a huge majority though.
3 महीने से पता नहीं कितने हजार करोड़ के आश्वासन, घोषणाएं सब होने के बाद इतनी बड़े मार्जिन से भूरिया जी जीते हैं। कांग्रेस की जीत तो हुई है, उससे ज्यादा बड़ी शिवराज सिंह की हार हुई है।
भाजपा का मुखौटा पूरी तरह से उतर रहा है और आज जनता अपना हक दोबारा आजमा रही है और दोबारा भाजपा को अपना आईना दिखाने का काम कर रही है। और ये भाजपा, ये जीत झाबुआ में जनता की जीत है, कांग्रेस के आम कार्यकर्ताओं की जीत है और स्वयं हमारे प्रत्याशी और हमारी पूरी टीम की जीत है।
Now, the latest gold monetization scheme unveiled by the government has received a lukewarm response. While the government says that these are the early days for the scheme, experts say that infrastructure for the scheme hasn't been fully rolled out. The banks, on the other hand, are awaiting clarifications from the government.
The government's attempt to wean Indians away from gold has got off to a slow start. Experts claim investor interest in the gold monetization scheme will pick up over time. That's if it's marketed better and the initial glitches are ironed out. The scheme requires consumers to melt down their gold and get a purity test before they can deposit it in a bank.
Monetization benefit can be given from not 2.5 to maybe 3% if required. Second thing, the procedure could be more simplified. Third thing, the underlying infrastructure to receive this gold can be made more simpler.
At present, 33 hallmarking centers and 5 gold refineries are certified to collect and test gold. Plans are afoot to increase this number.
जहां तक मोनेटाइजेशन का प्रश्न है, अभी उसका पूरा एपरेटस जिसमें गोल्ड की टेस्टिंग हो रही है वो इस्टेब्लिश होकर सेटअप किया जा रहा है।
The scheme aims to monetize an estimated 22,000 tons of gold lying idle with households and temples. The high demand for gold is a major driver for India's trade imbalance, pushing up current account deficit to record highs and weighing down the rupee. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now get you some more news and updates from around the country and nationwide. India sought Switzerland's assistance in probing the accounts of allegedly held by former Congress Minister Praneeth Kaur and her son Raminder Singh. Kaur allegedly is among the 1,195 Indians with bank accounts with HSBC Geneva. She has earlier denied having any account with a foreign bank. The Supreme Court today refused to allow an urgent hearing on a petition related to Rahul Gandhi's citizenship row. The petitioner had sought that the apex court direct CBI to file a case against the Congress Vice President. BJP leader Subramaniam Swamy had recently alleged that Gandhi had claimed himself to be a British national before the UK company law authorities. Dissident Aam Aadmi Party legislator Pankaj Pushkar was on Monday marshalled out of the Delhi Assembly. The action was taken after he raised the issue of lakhs of government school students having failed the midterm exams. Pushkar also accused the Speaker of misusing his post by not allowing him to speak. Now, Bollywood actor Amir Khan's remarks on intolerance provoked sharp reactions today. The comments were completely trolled on Twitter, while political leaders and some Bollywood celebrities on both sides of the divide responded to them.
Amir Khan is among India's most popular and influential.
Arriving late into the intolerance debate, Amir Khan sparked a controversy at the 8th edition of the Ramnath Goenka Excellence in Journalism Awards.
In the last maybe 6 months, 8 months, there has been a growing sense of despondency, I would say. I mean, when I sit at home and talk to Kiran, Kiran and I have lived all our lives in India. For the first time, Kiran says, should we move out of India? Now, that's a disastrous and very big statement for Kiran to make to me.
Khan said he felt a sense of insecurity and fear had seeped within the society and even in his family.
When people take law into their own hands, when there's a sense of insecurity, we look upon these people to take a strong stance, make strong statements, and speed up the legal process to prosecute such cases. When we see that happening, there is a sense of security. When we don't see that happening, there's a sense of insecurity.
The government and BJP leaders reacted strongly to the statements, claiming Amir's remarks tarnished the image of India.
The total numbers of communal incidents has come down compared to 2013. So all this debate is misplaced. There are issues which society as a whole, we need to come together and address the issue.
आमिर खान को हम सब बहुत प्यार करते हैं. इतनी अच्छी वो मूवीज बनाते हैं, इतने अच्छे वो एक्टर हैं कि बहुत ही हम उन सबको उनके काम को लाइक करते हैं. उन्होंने कल कुछ कहा कि हिंदुस्तान शायद अब टॉलरेंट नहीं रहा, मगर ये दिल है कि मानता नहीं. उनकी बातों को हम शायद मान नहीं पा रहे हैं कि हिंदुस्तान टॉलरेंट नहीं है, क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान एक इनक्रेडिबल कंट्री है. इनक्रेडिबल इंडिया इज नेवर इंटॉलरेंट इंडिया. ये खुद आमिर कहते हैं ना, इनक्रेडिबल इंडिया.
Amir Khan and his wife never felt unsafe when the entire city of Mumbai was under siege during the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, where hundreds of innocent people were killed mercilessly.
While Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi tweeted his support, opposition leaders rallied around Amir.
What Amir Khan, one of the most respected actors, has said, and in the presence of very senior BJP people, is what the whole world is saying. All of India is saying, all right-minded people are saying.
I believe he said it in a very responsible way. He is a man who commands a great national audience because of his stature, the great work he's done. And he speaks for all Indians. You cannot reduce a man like Amir Khan or before that Shah Rukh Khan to one community and one particular point of view.
You heard him, I heard him, the world heard him, but has the government heard him? And the way that the BJP spokespeople have responded, dismissive, arrogant, without understanding the depth of a person's feelings.
Amir Khan's remarks angered a few Bollywood celebrities. In a series of tweets, Anupam Kher, Rishi Kapoor, Paresh Rawal and Ram Gopal Verma turned on Amir, asking, when did incredible India become intolerant India for you? Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a quick break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Time for some international news now. And Russian President Vladimir Putin met his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani at a summit of gas exporting countries in Tehran. It was their first meeting in 8 years. Both leaders focused on the Syrian crisis and an international peace plan intended to end the conflict. While Rouhani said that Tehran was seeking greater cooperation with Moscow on security issues, Putin pledged to continue bilateral security cooperation and find a solution to the Syrian crisis. Russia and Iran are undertaking joint military action in support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
در زمینه مسائل منطقه‌ای و همچنین مبارزه با تروریسم که از قبل همکاری داشتیم تصمیم گرفتیم همکاری‌ها رو توسعه بدیم.
Turkish fighter jets shot down a Russian-made warplane near the Syrian border. Turkish authorities claimed they repeatedly warned the pilot of violating their airspace, but Russia denied that the jet left Syrian airspace. Russia's defense ministry confirmed that the fighter jet downed was in Syria after coming under fire from the ground. Amateur footage showed the warplane going down in flames in a woodland area. Turkish military said that the Russian-made Su-24 was worn 10 times in the space of 5 minutes. It was the first time a NATO member's armed forces was shot down a Russian or Soviet military aircraft since the 1950s. The US President Barack Obama will host his French counterpart Francois Hollande at the White House later today. Both leaders will discuss strategies to step up the fight against the Islamic State. Meanwhile, in Paris, security forces have sealed off the streets after a possible suicide vest was found in a garbage can. A lockdown continues in Brussels and the US has issued a travel advisory to all its citizens.
A worldwide travel alert has been issued by the US for its citizens in the wake of increased terrorist threats. The US State Department claimed that fresh reports suggest possible multiple terror attacks by the Islamic State group, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram and other terrorist groups. The alert will remain in place till 24th February 2016. The US advisory insists their citizens to be vigilant in public places or while using public transportation. They have also advised to avoid large crowds.
I think in general, Homeland Security does a really good job, and I'm not that worried about it. And you really can't worry about it because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You know, you got to live your life, like they said. We can't let the terrorists win.
I want to travel to Jamaica, but I can't now. I'm scared, so I won't be traveling there.
The US announcement comes after France stepped up airstrikes against IS in Syria. French President Francois Hollande will meet US President Barack Obama at the White House to discuss ways and means to confront the terror threat. Earlier on Monday, Hollande met EU Council President Donald Tusk and discussed security concerns, especially in its external borders. Meanwhile, the White House said that European partners should improve sharing intelligence information to avoid possible terrorist attacks.
States, since has long-standing information sharing agreements with countries in Europe. This is actually an area where we do believe that there is more that our European partners can do in terms of improving the quality and quantity of information that they share with one another.
French security officials have found a possible suicide vest in a garbage can in Paris suburbs. They suspect it could belong to Salah Abdeslam, the only suspect in Paris attacks who is believed to be alive and is still on the run. Fresh reports suggest that his phone was traced to the area where suicide vest was found. Lockdown continues in Brussels. A highest security alert level is on. However, the metro system and schools are expected to reopen on Wednesday. The Belgian police meanwhile released 15 suspects they had arrested in raids on Sunday.
Nous considérons que nous sommes toujours confrontés au même type de menaces telles que j'ai pu le présenter hier, et nous considérons que les cibles potentielles sont les mêmes que celles qui ont été présentées hier. Je rappelle, ce sont les endroits fort fréquentés comme par exemple les zones commerçantes.
As panic grips the world in wake of Paris terror attacks, the New York State Police has launched an app which allows people to report suspicious activity by sending photographs or text messages from their mobile to the state's Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for all the other international news and global buzz. Ahead of the crucial Paris conference, the United Nations named India and China as the countries most affected by weather-related disasters. It said both accounted for over 3 billion disaster-affected people between 1995 and 2015. A military court in Thailand indicted 2 men accused of carrying out the bomb attack in Bangkok. 20 people were killed in the August incident that was one of the deadliest of its kind in the country's history. The men shared 10 charges, including premeditated murder, illegal possession of weapons, and murder. A bomb exploded outside the Greek Business Federation in central Athens today. It created a hole in the side of the building and a pavement, but caused no injuries. Police suspect domestic guerrilla groups in the incident. It's the first such attack since leftist Prime Minister Tsipras came to power in January. A car slammed into a bus near Mexico's Gulf Coast, causing a fiery crash that killed 24 people and injured 10 others on Monday. Authorities said that the compact car and the bus collided on a highway in the neighboring state of Puebla. Some sports now, and India will take on South Africa in the third test at Nagpur from Wednesday. India, who already have one lead in the four-match series, will aim to deliver a knockout blow in the penultimate test. The spinners will be looking to pose the biggest threat to their visitors, having sent them packing for scores of 180, 409 and 214 in the 3 completed South African innings so far. With Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja in impressive form, leg spinner Amit Mishra is likely to regain his spot in the playing 11. For South Africa, it's a do-or-die game to keep the contest alive. Both teams settled for a draw in the second test, which was washed out in Bengaluru. Time now for all the other sports action in Sportsbeat. In badminton, India's Kidambi Srikanth made a shocking opening round exit in the Macau Open Badminton Tournament. Srikanth lost to Indonesia's Jonathan Christie in straight games 21-16, 23-21. However, B-Sai Praneeth advanced to the second round, beating Indonesia's Hamdani 21-18, 23-21. Pakistan pulled out of the SAF Championships to be played in Thiruvananthapuram from the December 23rd. According to reports, the Pakistan Football Federation has been crippled by groupism and power struggle. Due to controversial elections, the Lahore High Court has put a hold on all activities of the PFF. Bayern Munich will face Olympiacos in the Champions League Group F match on Wednesday. Host Bayern are likely to be without left-back David Alaba, who is suffering from an ankle injury. Both teams are tied for first place in Group F with 9 points. Rafa Benitez will remain Real Madrid manager after getting support from club president Florentino Perez. Benitez faced backlash after a humiliating 4-0 defeat against arch-rivals Barcelona on Sunday. The defeat also left Real third in La Liga, 6 points behind leaders Barcelona and 2 behind city rivals Atletico Madrid. Well, that's it from us. Goodbye.